Matthew Lee, Inner City Press, on behalf of the Free UN Coalition for Access. Thanks for doing this exit press conference. I wanted to ask you about a conflict that seems to have actually gotten worse in the last year, either despite or some say because of UN involvement, and it's the one in Cameroon between the central government and the Anglophone areas. Seems like, you know, they turned off the internet. Now, more recently, they've been burning down whole villages. I know that Mr. Fall had gone there, and at least I heard him say that, you know, anyone that wants secession is an extremist, which is something that the government uses to actually perform these acts and say that anyone that says that is a terrorist. So I wanted to know, like, how this is it's a lesser known or less high profile conflict, but how does DPA? You said you have all this expertise from around the world, but is it possible that sort of the former or even current colonial powers have kind of the ear in some cases of these kind of conflicts? And how would you assess the UN's performance in Cameroon?
Thank you, Mr. Lee. It's worth keeping in mind that that by and large, the Department of Political Affairs operates overseas under Chapter 6 of the Charter. That means member state consent. We operate in Chapter 8 in partnerships with regional and sub-regional organizations that are key to our ability to have full understanding and better credibility in our work. But it's Chapter 6. This is not something where the Department of Political Affairs can say, "Hey, we see a problem. We're going to send out a team or an envoy or something like that." That's not how it works. We have to have we have to be able to persuade a country that some outside engagement, some outside facilitation might be of use, and that's hard. This is one of the hardest things that I have seen about working in the Department of Political Affairs, and it's one of the hardest things about making prevention work. The Secretary General is, as you've all heard, is very keen on prevention across the whole spectrum of UN activities, whether it's prevention of childhood disease or prevention of conflict. But prevention of conflict is especially difficult. And I would put Cameroon in this category because we think that there are lessons learned, there are best practices, there are examples in other parts of the world where there have been successful processes that address the concerns of minorities, of various ethnic groups, of people who feel for one reason or the other disenfranchised that might be useful in Cameroon. But we're not going to be able to just march in there and say, this is what you got to do. That's not the idea, and it's not realistic. And so we have a sort of an ongoing dialogue with the Cameroon authorities about our concerns over over problems in the Anglophone region and what could happen if those concerns aren't addressed effectively. But this is not the case of the UN being able to go in and saying this is the solution. Even when the door is open to UN intervention on conflict prevention under Chapter 6, I don't believe it's wise for the UN to say this is the solution. What the UN should be doing is helping local actors come up with a way forward that addresses grievances in a way that the local owners end up having ownership in that. I think the Cameroon is something we need to keep watching.